give us a signal and we'll go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the October 30th meeting of the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library Board of Trustees. And as is customary, we will open with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we have an agenda this evening. Begins with the meeting minutes for September 18th, when last we met. And I believe there are some things on there that we might want to change or amend. One of the things I'm looking at the second page under old business E, it says Mr. Wall. I suspect that one stood out pretty quickly. And for some reason, we went from 3 library directors report to 5 old business, and I didn't find the 4 when I went looking for it in the computer. So if there's one, please point me in that direction.
Also, Harrison Records name is spelled incorrectly, so
okay.
Wherever it says record, it should say records.
What I'll do is I'll
Oh, my
update.
name's spelled wrong there too.
Oh, okay.
I found some and I corrected those, but obviously I did a quick read of it, so.
I don't think we have any.
Stephanie, how do you spell your name?
Stefani.
S-T. Say it again?
Stefani.
Oh, I have it spelled that way.
It's here on there. Maybe further along it changed.
There's
Yeah.
the
The revised one?
Revised.
Oh, okay.
It's on the old business under B.
Okay, so further along it
Yeah, sorry.
changed. Okay, because at the very beginning, indicating an attendance, I think that was correct there.
Yeah, it is right there.
I don't think there's any substantive issues there, though. Has anyone found any? I mean, the typos and misspellings
I
and stuff
did, but I corrected those.
on the amended version that you said. There were 2 copies, 2 versions of this, and hopefully everyone's working with the second of those. The amended version corrected some of the earlier errors. All right, if everyone is satisfied, then we can make a motion. Someone could move to accept the amended minutes.
I make the motion to accept the September 18th minutes as amended.
Seconded.
Second, any discussion? No, all in favor? Aye, so passed. You can abstain? Yes, you can.
Well, I wasn't here, so.
You weren't here.
That's okay, actually, we found out you can still.
Oh, you can still print it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But I'll print.
All right, so that'd be unanimous then, I guess. So, all right, thank you. All right, moving along, we have the director's report. And this one has an unusual twist to it, and it will be Ms. Wall's last report.
Yep.
So we're expecting a bang-up job on this one.
I tried to make it as short as possible, actually. It didn't work too well. So starting off with the programs, September, October, had a pretty good end of September, beginning of, well, most of October at this point. Some highlights include the Liz Barber class on using your Instant Pot. That was a sellout at 35 people. And the, let's see, other highlights are the new Lego Club that is being held on Wednesdays now. That's actually gotten to be pretty popular. So we always get an average about 6 to 8 kids on Wednesday afternoon. It's a nice Wednesday afternoon type thing for the children. And Pam's got all of the Lego kits all in Tupperwares and things. So I got a rundown today on how that all works. And musical story time with Julie Stepanek, which I believe also runs. That's been going once a month through either November or December. But that's been a big draw. Also, we welcomed the Wingmasters OWL program on October 5th, and we had about 38 people we just had a mix of young and old for the program. It was really wonderful. The gal brought, I want to say 6 owls with her.
There was a falcon
So
was the
cool.
first one she brought out, and then she did bring out like 4 or 5 owls, yeah.
Yep, so,
Yeah.
so it was great. I loved it, and everyone enjoyed it. Let's see, and Spooky Slime Night on the 15th, Pam had 35 over the course of the evening. I think she spaced them out, because the last time she had Spooky Slime, I think she was inundated. We had 27 people come for our Pearl Jam concert number 4, which was the Gray Whisker Pickers, and we were delighted that one of our volunteers, Caroline Popowski, opened for them. And she's been volunteering at the library for a couple of years now, and we had no idea what a beautiful singing voice she has and how well she could play the guitar. So
How old is she?
she's in high school. I think she might be 16, 15
Oh,
or
okay.
16. She's in the Shepherd Hill Choir.
Mm.
But
Good for
it
her.
was amazing. Let's see. So we had, and last night, this was amazing. We had the Springfield Museum came and brought their Star Lab observatory.
Okay, yeah.
It's a giant indoor observatory. Did you?
I went to the 5:30.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you go inside of the thing?
Yes, all of the parents went inside. I mean, you have 48 kids. You could add 48 parents to the list too.
Was it great?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was neat.
Yeah. I'm a little claustrophobic, so whenever I looked at it, I was like,
It was dark.
Yeah, dark, and, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But apparently it was a great time,
Mhm.
so that was wonderful. And let's see, we still have tomorrow we have our Halloween, tomorrow is Halloween, obviously, so we have Halloween crafts in the afternoon that kids can stop by between 1 and, I think it's 1:30 to 4:30, in that approximate time frame, just a drop-in craft type thing. Something along those lines. And so we'll have those out. There's 3 or 4 different crafts that the kids can make. And also, I wanted to say, coming up, I printed out copies from our new event keeper. And so you will be happy to note the times of your choice.
Thank you, thank you.
We're still working out this.
It's just nice to print it and the times
It
come out.
really
I
is.
really do appreciate that. That's
Well,
great.
I mean, there's other
I think
benefits.
other people would like it too.
Yeah, and this isn't gonna take the place of our other one because we do a lot of artwork on
Yeah,
that
I like this one too.
Yeah.
Design.
People, I think those are hung on a lot of refrigerators.
Yes. they are.
But this is a great, quick thing to print out if
Mhm.
you can't get to the library. This is part of our upgrade to Event Keeper for our online event calendar.
Mhm.
And it does have the capability for online registration. And
Oh.
this just went live with our brand new website on a couple of days ago. So we're still, I handed the online registration off to the gang to figure out, because some things we still will need, people to come in if there's a copay, things like that.
Exactly.
But overall, we love it. It's absolutely the best thing since sliced bread.
Have you used it yet to do a registration?
No,
Okay.
not yet. This just all went live on Monday.
Oh, okay.
I
I knew,
was
that
here
was one of
late
my
on-
questions here was that,
Yep.
so.
I was,
This is one line
I stayed late on Friday. I was hell-bent on getting the last thing moved over from the old calendar to the new calendar, because we had a lot in there for 2019 as well. So Event Keeper helped us a little bit, Plymouth Rocket.
Yeah.
But, of course, we had to check everything and make
Sure.
sure that everything was accurate.
Yep.
And it does have the capability to color code things, so what we're gonna do, we didn't find that out until later on. So we're gonna color code it
Oh,
for
sure.
adult,
Yeah,
children,
that makes sense.
teens,
Yeah.
all ages, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's good.
And when I say we, I mean they.
Yes, the royal we.
The royal we. Anyway, so that's events coming up, but I'll just hit a couple of highlights here. We've got our book discussions, that's tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, and that's Love and Other Consolation Prizes by Jamie Ford. Some people may know him as the author of Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet, popular author. And of course, let's see, we've got a movie on Monday the 5th at 5:30, Solo, a Star Wars story. On the 6th, we have a musical story. We have another musical story time with Julie Stepanek. That's the gal that accompanies with ukulele. That's a very popular one. And we have one last Tai Chi class on the 7th at 3:30. So if you haven't already taken a class with Charlene, that is the last chance because then she's moving. So, let's
Question,
see.
I think I overheard the turkey hunt.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's all during the month of November, and those are turkeys on the loose in the kids' room, and they find them, and then they, write down. I saw the little slips of paper this afternoon. They'll be set out on Thursday morning, and the kids can come up to the circ desk in the kids' room and find the turkeys and turn in the slip and enter into a chance to win a prize.
Oh,
That is so cute.
It's, yeah, they're all
Gets them-
scattered all over.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
gets them through the library, sure.
Yep,
Yeah,
so,
Interesting.
is it just kept to the kids' room or the whole library?
just the kids.
Yes.
I feel like a child inside because a lot of these things are so exciting.
So, let's see here. We have our 5th Pearl Jam concert on the 15th at 6 o'clock, and that is with David Polanski, and his program is called Music Through the Decades. He showcases all different types of music throughout the decades and accompanies with his instruments,
Sounds
trumpet,
really
so
fun.
forth.
I've seen him. He plays just about everything.
Yeah,
doesn't
he does, and he's very funny, and he's a great presenter. So, anyway, I wanted to point out also that we have added a knit and crochet group on Thursday evenings. So now not only do we have the Friday morning from 10 to 12, but that got so big that they decided to spin off and do a Thursday evening from 5:30.
Oh, I'm really happy they're doing that at
Yeah,
night.
from 5:30 to
It
7:30.
is, yeah.
Honestly, I thought I was going to have to put a mezzanine in the local history room because they were squeezed in there pretty well. So maybe, some will go over to the Thursday evening, but all are welcome regardless of level. And there's help if you need it. And I got help myself last Friday because I screwed up the vest I was working on, and they managed to fix it for me and give it back to me, and hopefully all will be well. Let's see, so on the 19th, Ms. Pam is holding a Harry Potter fan day and with Harry Potter crafts, and I believe that's a collaborative effort with some kids from Nichols College. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So some students from Nichols College will be in, and that's 5:30 and 6:30. I'm not positive, but that may be sign up. You can check our calendar. And of course, let's see, on the 29th, one last thing to highlight, we have at 29th, which is the last Thursday of the month at 6 p.m., we have a presentation by Corinne Smith on reconstructing history using Mom's World War II letters. And what this gal, she found these World War II letters from World War II servicemen to her mom. And I don't know where, it was just a collection of over 100. And what she's done is she's made it a point of researching the soldiers and trying to get in touch with the families and return the letters to the families. So she's presenting on that whole thing, and she's a librarian actually, if I'm recollecting
I
correctly.
think as I recall, but this woman was corresponding with several guys at the same time.
I wasn't
don't
gonna
know
talk
whether they
about
were
that.
all fully aware of
That already went through my head. I was like, wow.
That's interesting.
4 or 5.
Well, you'll have to come to the presentation and find out exactly
see
what
how that
happened
all
there.
ended. It could have been very confrontational.
Otherwise, I wanted to mention that we will be closed on Saturday the 10th and Monday the 12th. That is Veterans Day weekend. Ordinarily, we'd be open on that Saturday, but we are having the carpets steam cleaned that day. We need the time for them to dry then we will be closed over Thanksgiving from Thursday through Sunday also. All of this is on our brand spanking new website
Yes,
page,
indeed.
front and center.
Awesome.
So thank you very much, and let's see, I think that's it for programs and events.
Can I
Yes.
add to your programs and events?
Yes.
Because you had a very successful co-sponsored Halloween parade.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. We had this spooktacular last Thursday. It was the first annual Dudley Spooktacular celebration. It started at the library at 5-ish, and that was a police escorted parade. And we weren't, quite sure, how many would show up, and I think there were well over 100
Yeah.
that showed up in all manner of costume. It was,
Really? Yeah,
it was
that was
fantastic.
I love seeing little ones in
And up to town hall they went, and they had haunted house and jungle gym and all kinds of food, hot dogs. I believe there was hot dogs and s'mores. I know there were s'mores because I could smell them.
Yep.
But yes, I think that was a wonderful and a highly successful first effort.
Absolutely.
And kudos to all involved. Town hall and play was a effort on a lot of people's parts in the various departments. So,
Yeah.
and we do thank the endowment for co-sponsoring that as well. So, thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
I saw that earlier, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get that in there, and then it slipped my mind. So, any other questions on that? Miscellaneous, let's see, if we flip over onto the other side, you can have a look at the budget. I'm just sort of following along on the agenda here. No big surprises there. Right about where we should be at this point in time.
Balance and equipment remaining in red, is there a reason for that?
That happens. I'm a bottom line budget, and you never know how much you're going to need. It's probably going to get even more red because we had to replace the battery backup. So since we're a bottom line budget, things, as long as we don't even really do that because we want to see when we're over,
Oh, yeah.
and it helps for formulation.
Pick up.
I almost said God bless you, but I won't. Yeah, so it helps when you do the following year's budget to see, where things
Right.
shook out.
Actually, $200 doesn't sound like a lot.
It's
all
not.
of the things that go
No,
in and out of that
exactly.
building.
It's not, but, I put something in there.
It's a target.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't have a battery backup fail every year, so
Yep.
that's not in here yet. That's, so. As long as this number right here hits 0 at the end of the year, that's all that matters. And it's that way for all the town departments, not just me.
I meant to ask, does the library lose power last Monday?
Yes,
Okay, I thought so.
most definitely.
Yeah,
All right.
Definitely did, yes.
So,
I thought so. I just didn't get an email, so I wasn't sure.
yeah.
On
It
for
came
what,
back on.
About an hour and 10 minutes or
Yeah,
something like that?
we did, the staff did ask patrons to leave when we realized it was going to last for a couple of hours. I called the police. Both Richard and I happened to be there when it happened. And I called the police station, and they said, in fact, it was substation issue at that time. They just weren't sure what was causing it.
Yeah, and at that point, they know enough to, wait to see if it's just a surge and it comes back on.
It did very, very briefly happen right
Yeah.
out again,
Yeah, and if it goes out again and it stays out for longer than 5 or 10 minutes,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
we ask patrons, we heard them, toward the door and, into the parking lot and
Mhm.
ask them to leave. And then the staff stays in the building for, I believe it's 30 minutes. And if it comes back on, then,
We were fortunate. They stayed more than 30 minutes.
yeah. I
Is
mean,
there
if
a
it's,
policy on that?
yes, and if it's more of a procedure, it's not really a policy. But if it's, if it's light out and,
Pretty dark in there.
The Great Desert Power Failure of 2000.
Yeah, I mean,
Emergency lights did go on, but
Yes, that is good to know, since I spent a fair amount of time troubleshooting.
Harrison,
Sorry, my therapy meeting went really long.
one of the things that we did discover, and there was some thought that we had an emergency generator.
We do not.
We do not know that. We found out. So, I'm not sure where we want to go with that going forward, because I think the library is designated as a,
No, I guess
it's not.
they talked about it, but it never moved forward.
It never moved forward. Okay.
Designated as,
Well, in
A
case of an
shelter in
emergency.
place.
oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, emergency shelter.
Yeah,
Emergency shelter.
okay, so the issue would have been more immediate if we had not had no generator and so designated, so not having that saves us on that one, I suspect, but maybe we want to think about an emergency generator going forward, because we have had.
What runs?
Oh, one of
Just
the
like
things that we
key,
had
I
as a
realize.
consequence of that power failure is all the computers had to reboot. And that was an
That's not-
agonizingly slow process.
Yeah.
Karen had some real
That-
serious issues, so we.
Oh, we had some
I
people
know, I was
outside
there before.
waiting or trying to get in, and frankly, they saw the lights go on and they thought, the door should be open. But none of the computers were functional, so we held them off.
It was like start up in the morning.
Right,
again.
and each one of
It
them.
takes a while for everything to load.
And I think even at that, when I left on Monday, I think there was still something Ed was not able to get up or was still struggling with. I forget where
Oh,
or
it
which.
was, it was the monitor,
The-
the second, in Pam's office where she could see the security.
Oh, that's because the security, because those monitors basically allow she and I to see the front desk,
Mhm.
and that server had needed to be rebooted, and it did, and everything is fine now.
Okay.
So,
Again, it did cause some inconvenience to
Right.
some people, or some people were trying to get in and.
Well,
weren't
I
able.
saw National Grid when I pulled in this morning, so I chased him down, and I asked him, what was going on, because I saw him in the box on the pole, and he
Mhm.
said, yeah, we've had people complaining in this area about surges and outages, so they don't know why that's happening, but they're investigating. So,
Good luck to them with that.
Right.
Hopefully they've seen the last.
So getting back to that front page, I just wanted to give you a brief recap of the New England Library Association conference that I went to last Monday and Tuesday, and I went to some pretty interesting things. On Monday, I attended a workshop, actually with Maura Dudley,
Yeah, TV.
from Mass Board of Library Commissioners on building relationships with boards of trustees, and that was more like a roundtable discussion on just, trustee involvement with, running the library and things of that nature, and communication, and things like that. It was a good workshop, and so she facilitated it, and then everybody, like I said, it was a roundtable discussion. How do you handle this? What do you do about that? The commissioner was also there, so that was pretty interesting, Jim Lonergan. So that was on Monday morning, and also on Monday morning I attended Creating a Community of Supporters, and basically that is, doing community outreach to engage, with your community and identify and satisfy the community needs. So that was interesting. And then that afternoon, I started out at a Train the Trainers that I didn't really like that much because it wasn't flowing really well. It seemed like something we added at the last minute. And I swapped over to a School Readiness Through Partnerships, and they were talking about the Boston Children's Museum partnership. They have a regional program that libraries can take advantage of, and one of my colleagues from Barry Library participates in it, and they have these Tinker kits that they distribute to other libraries, and so that was pretty interesting. So I forwarded that information on to Pam. And then on the next day, the workshop I went to in the morning was on advocacy and how to build and nurture advocacy for your larger scale projects. So, for instance, the space we've been talking about developing adjacent to the library, how to engage the community with things like that, how to, get support from local businesses and things of that nature. And in the afternoon, I went to a workshop on reconfiguring spaces to meet the changing needs of patrons and staff, because as we all know, things change, technology changes, patrons change, so that was pretty interesting. It was more focused on academia, but we did get a good sense of, how to go about, assessing what the needs are. So it was, all in all, I thought it was a really good conference, and the lunchtime speaker on Tuesday was the author of Wicked, so he was very entertaining. He kind of walked us through his whole, writing career, and he had slides of his old scribbled notes when he was a little kid and learning how, he was just getting into writing, and even his illustrations, they were hilarious. So he was a great presenter, very entertaining. So, let's see. I have I wanted to, typically when we have programs that are larger, that cost more than $200, $250 in that range, things that I don't want to hit the Friends for, we will use endowment funds. And basically, before I came on board, a hunk of endowment money was brought over from Greater Worcester and put in our gift fund, and that's where we draw it out of to pay for the larger program, the higher cost programs. And I noticed that's getting a little low, and I don't want to leave it low and then, go. So I called Greater Worcester, because I hadn't done this, without, I've put in requests for very specific things, and this is to fund programming through June. And so I called them just to make sure that was, okay, and they said yes. So I have a distribution request that for $15,000 to fund programs for all ages through June of 2019, including summer reading program. And that just needs a vote. And then Richard's signature.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve a $15,000 Greater Worcester Community Foundation distribution request to fund programs for all ages through June of 2019. Is that accurate?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, I have a motion to approve $15,000 from the Greater Worcester, let me get the proper wording here, Community Foundation to be used for...
Didn't I?
Yeah.
I just made that motion.
No, I was just repeating, I think.
Okay.
That's all. Okay. All right, are there any questions or discussion in regards to the motion? All those in favor? Oh, excuse me.
Can I see it?
Sure.
I just have to see it.
I'll let you fill in the blank type of form.
Can I ask Karen through the chair, how many times, what is our normal yearly request to this group?
We don't really have a normal yearly request to them now.
Okay.
I have in the past, as you know, early in the spring, I put in a request for this year's summer reading program, and it was very specific. It was a specific number, and I had this Pearl Jam concert series. So we have, it fluctuates with the market, of course, what's available. So, I want to think on the state report, because that number is reported on the state report. If my memory serves me, I think the fund, the grant fund, the endowment funded something on the order of, it's usually around the $10,000, somewhere in the $10,000
For a year?
range. Yeah.
So this is from now until June, and it's
Well,
15,000?
that's true, but
It's-
one of the things I think we might want to keep in mind is Karen won't be with us in a very short time. This will take off the table or off the plate of whoever may be coming in. And we haven't anyone coming in to replace Karen at this point, and are trying to cobble together a combination of folks and hours in order to fill some of the gaps. And I think fair to say, what we're looking at is a very bare bones operation. And anything that we can take from that table that now is very well staffed and, hold off until someone is fully engaged going forward,
Right.
I think is to our advantage in the libraries as well.
This has been done in the past, and it is from the, you and Harriet Crawford Endowment for the Program.
Yeah, and it's not, I arbitrarily chose that amount of
Okay,
money
I just
because,
didn't know.
yeah, because if that's where your question was coming from. Because I don't want to leave that account short, that gift account short, because now what happens is the check comes in, it gets put into the gift account, and then you guys have seen the voucher requests that come through. That will
Yeah.
still be reported on that cover sheet of expenditures.
And this funds a number of,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
variety of.
Right, I was just trying to cast like the widest net that I
Right,
could
right.
cast so that somebody didn't have to worry about doing this for several months, so.
Any further discussion or move the question? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous then. And I'll see
That's
if you
that
get
up.
that.
I really would like to get that in and get it into the gift account,
Right,
just
yeah.
sitting in there so that,
Okay, let's, library repairs, are we up to that in terms of?
yep, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Okay, so I already went through the closed, and the upholstered furniture. So the repairs, let's see, we had the 2 insurance issues. The June 28th incident where someone ran over the light post and the bike rack. The bike rack's been replaced and installed. The light post is partially installed, and the chap I talked to today, he had to order a bracket and a collar for the sconce, and that stuff is coming from California. So, and that bottom piece was cracked, that one with the scrolls on it and stuff. It's like the bottom fancy piece that sits on top of the concrete footing. So that stuff is coming, and he's hoping by the end of next week, but I'm saying the 15th, just because I always am a pessimist about that kind of stuff. So anyway, but hopefully by the 15th, that will be complete. I spoke to the insurance adjuster about the $1,000 deductible, and he said that it did get turned over to a subrogation company that he said was fairly aggressive. So he's, he can't give me any information because it's beyond his, him at this point. But it did. At least I have a date. It got turned over on the 25th. He said they usually, their typical turnaround is, I think he said inside of 3 months. So anyway, I know it's what a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So the insurance, that'll be the end of that. And then insurance claim number 2, which was the person who hit the corner of the library. The interior painting is complete. The contractor has ordered the ceiling tiles, and as soon as those come in and get installed, he'll do that and have the carpets done. And then the interior will be done except for the shelving. The shelving is turning out to take a little bit longer. They're not doing the shelving, that's coming from another company and getting installed by another company.
How many shelving units were damaged?
It was there were 3 3-foot sections on that wall, and 1 3-foot section on the other wall. So those will be 4 3-foot sections. But we are going to reuse and see if we can reuse some of the not so bad shelving in the teen room.
Oh.
So, because it doesn't look too bad, and the guy from Tucker Library Interiors said, yeah, when we're out there, we'll drag it down there and see what we can do, because we desperately need more shelving in there, and it's the right kind of shelving, coincidentally. Some of the actual shelf pieces are fine. So we're gonna, I don't know, I like to make use of every single scrap that I possibly can that's usable and looks decent. So, lucky for us, the tops were spared. Those were the wood pieces. Those were a lot of money and a big long lead time. And they don't make that, what's called marmoleum, that
Oh,
kind of
yes, I
linoleum
remember, yeah.
inlay
Mhm.
that's on there. They don't make that color anymore. So those pieces I saved, I unscrewed them and saved them, and they're sitting in the kids' room, and they'll go on top of the new shelving. So I think it's going to work out okay.
Mhm.
Oh, that's good.
And Pam is up to speed on all of that. So
Thank you.
anyway, but it looks great. And the exterior paint, I talked to P&P yesterday, and they said they were going to try to get that to weather dependent for the exterior, finishing that up. It's been primed, and the first coat's been put on, and the trim. So they've got a little bit more to do out on the exterior, and then that'll be done. And then again, both things were turned over at the same time to subrogation, so we shall see where that all ends up. Any questions on that? I'll be so
no,
happy to have that room reopened.
I know we've discussed putting something up in front of the walk area
Bollards.
around the library, and, well, a variety of different
That wasn't an
things come to mind, no.
exclamation either.
And I think that going forward, at some point, I think the idea was to maybe get in touch with the fire chief. He might have some experience with some sort of barriers, or, I'm thinking in terms of town resources, who, in their capacity, their job might have some.
Highway department?
Highway department, that's a Jersey barrier, probably, God forbid.
Well,
But, yeah.
the contractor was going to give us a quote for those things.
Was he?
Yeah. He said they're not, it's not uncommon. It's not really that big of a deal. And so I said, sure, give us the quote, and
Great.
I'll pass it along.
All right, and I was kind of holding out for something that didn't look like a Jersey barrier.
I don't think these do. I think they're, I think
They've come
they're
a long way.
From New Jersey to Massachusetts is far enough, but it might work. All right, we'll see what that looks like. And unfortunately, having had 2 accidents, I come from a line of folks that always thought of things happening in threes. Having something in place would certainly do us well. Thank you.
Sure. It takes up a lot of time, just, keeping them all on, track and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But anyway.
We're coming to the end.
I know.
That's the
Right.
good thing.
Battery backup in the server room had failed, and that was during the power outage that we had a Monday night and a Tuesday night outage. And I think at least one of those was weather related, because it was like hurricane force winds or something like that. And what happened was that's when I discovered that, we had lost our network connection, and I went into the server room, and I hate seeing the red lights. It's never a good thing. So Retrofit came out, they ordered the battery, and then came out and installed it. So that's up and running, and that's working properly. It did wreak havoc. Those outages, I'm not really sure. Something has happened to the HVAC computer, the thing that that runs the controller, and the controller runs the rooftop unit. And we've kind of been living on borrowed time. That was one of the only computers that I didn't replace, because they told me, don't replace it unless you really have to. I think now we really have to. We do have a computer that I had gotten from TechSoup. It was a refurbished Dell for it was like $300 or something like that. And it's perfectly capable. And so I've asked House Corporation to come out, to give us a quote on coming out and installing new software, and that's going to cost some money. So,
Right.
You might have to tap into state aid for that.
Right.
But it's got to be done. We can't live without it.
Right.
We're living with it. We're living without it right now.
Could you just give a little explanation of TechSoup for folks who aren't
Sure.
familiar with it?
TechSoup is a nonprofit, that supplies libraries and other organizations with software and hardware at greatly reduced prices. We bought all of our Microsoft Office productivity licenses, and they were like $26 a piece. Normally they're in $500, $600 $600. So you don't always get, you know, it's a little like, you know, it's a little like going to job lot or
Yeah,
BJ's.
you never know what's
You never
gonna
know
be
what
there.
you're gonna, you know, you don't know, but it's always, you get
worth it.
Microsoft, and I believe you can, that you're limited, you can only place one order a year or something like that. So if you have to know, like when I did the IT upgrade, I knew that I was gonna order 26 licenses all at once, just so that thank you, so that I didn't have to worry about that second order. Even though we didn't order 26 computers all at once, I knew I got the licenses.
Yeah.
So
And what was the name of the place?
it's called
TechSoup.
TechSoup. It's a great resource. Last but not least, the good old self-checks. After going back and forth with 3M or Biblioteca, they have told me that they do not have a viable replacement at this time. The only replacement is to spend many thousands of dollars and get one of those super ugly kiosks that we really don't need. So, and have no room for it to boot. So I sent them pictures of what we have currently. Right now, the children's one is down. The other one is working fine. Watch, tomorrow it'll crap out. But I have an alternative for the next person, and that will be in the unfinished business folder for them.
Right.
And that would, it's going to be, I think it'll be better, because then you can replace both at once, and you can do it through CW Mars, which is our consortium vendor, and it's the same company that we use that we use for our time management, our PC reservation time management, and I am recommending that you use them for print control as well. So those are all things for the next person to pick up regarding the IT upgrade. We really need to look at print control and like a color printer. It's time. So you can get an all-in-one that has a release station. So people coming to make copies can make copies. People coming they can scan to an email. People print sitting on our public access computers can print to it, and then they go over, pay for the print job, and it releases. Rather than, oops, I didn't mean to print 50 pages. I only wanted that top one.
I'm trying to find out who
You know what I
printed
mean?
it.
Yeah, it's, so it's, there are many examples out there. So I have the paperwork printed out, and so that's on the horizon. Let's see. Did I cover everything?
Looks like it. We have stats for two on the last page, statistics.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Joyce had asked me for some, I knew that wasn't everything. This is just a small snapshot of some of the numbers that I keep track of. So the computer use is in-house. Wireless, they can access from outside as well.
This is really good information for us to have when we do strategic planning. A lot of that information that we needed, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, you're welcome. I don't include it all the time, but every once a quarter, I try to, put something out here to show, through the door numbers. So, interestingly enough, I meant to put it on here, I forgot. I usually put on the audio, the overdrive usage as well, and that's been steadily climbing as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I use that.
Yeah, and we have overdrive, but it ended on there was also the mass ebook collection, which I think confused a lot of people. Massachusetts came out with a statewide ebook collection, and it was using different vendors, and it was using different apps, and I think it got turned out to be, I think it was just a beast to manage for the Mass library system with whatever limited resources they had to throw at it. So they do not have that anymore. Instead, they're contributing to the Overdrive catalog. So that money that we paid, it went to more titles. So you may see more availability with Overdrive than you had in the past. And Overdrive now not only has audiobooks and ebooks, but they also have started up with magazines, e-magazines.
Okay.
So, yep. So check that out.
Can I ask a question? Do we have, like, is there video out there that kind of would take someone who's not totally technological?
It's right on the Overdrive website.
It is.
Yep.
Could we attach a link to our website?
We have a link on our
You do?
website, right
Perfect.
to Overdrive. Yeah, if you just click on the Overdrive, it brings you right to the main page, and there's a
Okay.
tutorials thing right there.
Okay. Do we have a statement underneath that said, like, underneath our Overdrive link that talks about that there's a tutorial there available?
I do not, but I can make that happen.
Okay. I think it would just be helpful for people that
Just
might
to
not-
link right straight to it.
It might be helpful
Yeah.
just to see if people.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
One of the things that's a little surprising, I noticed computer usage,
Yeah, that's
contrasting 2014, almost 9,000, and we're about 6,500 in 2018. Is that a sign of prosperity in the community, people buying their own?
No, I think that, well, we may have, let's see, when did we?
It just seems like there's been a steady, if you will, decline in number year over year.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is that in chatting with my colleagues, they've seen the same kinds of like reduction, and the wireless starting to climb a little bit.
That's what I was just going to point
So-
out, is wireless.
It's on there.
When I've been in the library, it looks like those machines are being used. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
haven't
are.
done a census on it, but it looks like there's a lot of them.
Well, if you
Maybe
look
it's
at our
just
to
a-
date, it looks like we're climbing back up with
It
the
does look
wireless
that, yeah.
anyway.
Big month in August.
So, and who knows what Webster will do, as far as
Right.
our numbers, that just remains to be seen. It'll be,
Right.
it'll be the next director's challenge to kind of figure out ways to
Right.
bring people, through the door.
There'll probably be a bit of adjustment, some number of folks
Exactly.
going. I know we have patrons who come in from Webster,
Right.
so
Oh, yeah,
some of them
many.
may filter back to Webster and may then return here.
Of course, and, the curiosity and, so, and, I mean, it's definitely a different space. So,
Mhm.
some people are way more comfortable in one than the other, and
Right.
you know what I mean? It's just different tastes, and, it's a
Comfort level.
very different environment. So,
It is nice to see that, I think in the past, we hadn't seen the program attendance reports because we had some trouble. Those folks going into the Fells room are not counted automatically, so they're, I don't know, but it's nice to see those numbers.
right.
Can I ask, have we ever looked at the possibility of having, or tell me if we already have it, Chromebooks to loan out?
Well, we have had like e-readers and things like that. They do not circulate. Oh, Chromebooks.
Because now, like, we have so many students that are like needing to access Chromebooks. They use all the Google content, the Google Suite. I'm just wondering if, as a teacher, I know a lot of kids want to go grab a Chromebook and maybe hide it, not hide, but like go into one of your study rooms where it's a little more quieter. They can spread out.
As I said, we had e-readers when that was the big thing to do.
Right.
And they just, no matter how much you promoted them, and this was not just our library, everyone had the same, oh boy, we all jumped on the same bandwagon and it just fell on its face. So certainly something to look into. I would bring that up with the next library director and ask them to look into, what is out there, because there's certainly way more options now than there were before. And it's not uncommon for libraries to do that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too, though, Kathy, where it's not just the resource to lend out, there's staff time that's
Right.
involved in that, and
Right.
we do not have a large staff, so, maintenance and upgrades and things like that, though they need to be kept up in order for them to be popular. So that you got to take into the consideration the big picture, but certainly worth investigating.
Hold the thought.
Right. Put it on the list.
Put it on the list.
Got an unfinished folder? Can add it to that.
I think we're under the second folder. All right. Any questions regards to the director's report, any portions thereof? And let's moving on then to library director resignation. That's a bad combination of words to see in print, isn't it? The position has been posted. I believe, Pat, was it 4 different websites at this point?
Well, yes, it's on the Massaporta Library Commissioner's job list. It's on the Rhode Island Library job list, OLIS, and it's on the Simmons College job list.
In the Mass Municipal list?
Yes, Greg was going to add it to that. We can check with everybody if he has done that.
I checked with the Personnel Board this afternoon, and we have exactly
Yeah.
0 response.
Well, the thing is Mass Board of Library Commissioners, I can post that myself, so that goes up the same day. The other 2, you have to depend on someone else. You
Mhm.
send them the file, and they post it eventually, so.
I know it's on OLIS.
Is it on OLIS now?
And what's our closing date?
Well, the 9th is what we say we will give special consideration to anyone who applies before then, but it's going to be open until filled.
Oh, okay.
So we're saying the
Open until
9th
filled.
for, hopefully getting the first of them in.
They'll start.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
A colleague has already asked.
Okay.
so.
And we don't have any internal candidates that give interest?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there is, you need to have an MLS, essentially, so,
Well, there is provision that you can be
interim.
interim for a period of time without being MLS, but we have.
And that's a Masters of Library Science.
Right.
Yes.
Not have an interim candidate. It's
What about going through getting an interim through the Mass Library?
Very,
Well-
very, very expensive.
We explored the possibility of having someone, an internal person, in the position as an interim. The person is not interested in doing that, which came, I think we were somewhat surprised, and that kind of moved us back a couple of steps on that one. So right now, we are exploring, as I think I may have mentioned or alluded to earlier, a combination of things and trying to cover just basically the bare bones in terms of the scheduling, taking care of the invoices.
How are we doing that?
How are we doing that?
Yeah.
In a piecemeal fashion, and we will be meeting with the Personnel Board representative and the Town Administrator on Thursday morning to hopefully nail down some of the details in that regard. At this point, I'm not at liberty to mention anyone by name. I don't think that would be a fair thing to do, put them out there, until we do have something that we can present. And there is involvement, obviously, now with the Personnel Board, so.
I would say we will probably have to have a meeting at some point
Right.
between now and the November meeting.
I think that probably going forward, I know our schedule is once a month, but I think that we can anticipate that there may be need for additional meetings between now and whenever the situation is finally resolved.
As we need to discuss and vote.
And there will be, at some point, there will be a search committee, or a
what committee?
review committee.
Search committee.
Okay, I just didn't hear.
And there will be some time commitment on the part of those folks involved there, so please, all of you, I'm not sure how that committee will be constituted, but might want to keep that thought open.
Who will decide how that is developed?
Well, I think there is a format that is, if I remember correctly, has been used in the past. It will involve not just the Board of Trustees, but also the Personnel Board.
Yep.
Someone, yeah, representative
And
and.
a member of the public as well. And as we get closer to that, those details will be coming out. I'm not exactly sure how that, and it may be, it might even be slightly different given the Personnel Board. I know the Personnel Board, the bylaw last night at the
Yeah.
town meeting, the Personnel Board was one of the topics, and a lot of changes there, and I haven't read through them yet.
Yeah, I went through briefly, but I couldn't repeat any now, so
we have been in touch with Mr. Fox, and there is a working relationship I think we're working on there. Speaking of which, we did have an article on the town warrant last night for $2,380 for library custodial services, and that was passed.
That's good.
So
That was just to add an hour to George's day.
keep us covered on that. And he is aware, and that's all.
Yep,
Good.
everything's been transferred.
Next, we have a farewell reception. It sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? Farewell and reception. Reception, you think of something coming, and farewell is obviously the other direction. But that is scheduled for Monday, the 5th, from 4 to 6, and I think we all know who that is for.
Yeah, and the public is invited.
Any questions or comments with regards to any of those issues? Again, a lot of things unknown at this point, hopefully details to follow.
I'd just like to take a moment to thank Karen for her 5.5 years of service to our library. Really-
Couldn't make it 6, could you?
We will miss you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything. I appreciate your support, and it's been a real learning experience, and it's been my great pleasure to bring that library as far forward as we have gotten it. So,
I like to echo what Pat just said to some extent, and as we're talking to Karen and others in the library and becoming increasingly aware of what goes on and the level of detail, as you peel that onion back, you start to get the same reaction that you get when you peel an onion. The tears start to come on. There's what we get, in this short little synopsis that we get every month is the very top, if you will. Not like an iceberg, but it's
Surface.
maybe 10% or so, or even less. And there's so much that goes into each and every one of the things that is listed on lines that we just look at and move on. So again, I am at least becoming much more aware of that. And I'm going to skip down to number 7, if I may, in that regard. I think it would be good for all of us to spend as much time in the library as we can and be there as frequently as we can. This is something of a disruption for the staff. Obviously, they've had a relationship with Karen for 5.5 years, and at this point, frankly, all we can offer them is something that is an unknown. And at least if we're there, they can ask us a question, and we can tell them we don't know, and at least they'll know what we know.
They're all really nice people.
Yes.
If you haven't already, introduce yourself and chat them. Of course, Harrison's been a volunteer. We thank you very much. Here the kids love your Pokemon program, so that's good. But yeah, let's,
Just the thought, going forward, and when we do bring on new staff, that thought probably could continue a bit after that as well, in terms of making our presence and availability. The thing too to keep in mind is if we bring someone in, they may not be from the community, in all likelihood they won't. They may have some very basic, fundamental questions, things that we might think everybody knows, but not having been here in Dudley for most of their lives, in all likelihood, they may not know. Keep those lines of communication open, if you will, please.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you don't need to wait for a trustee meeting. You can give Richard a call or talk to Pam. She'll be managing the children's room, and we can deal with whatever the questions are at that point.
All right. Moving along then, if we can. Again, thank you, Karen. Board reorganization. As you might recall, we voted earlier to put me in this position as chair.
Who did that?
Thank you very much for that. One of the things that we didn't do.
You're doing a great job, Richard.
Thank you. One of the things we didn't do is, and you'll find in the bylaws reference to a co-chair and a vice chair, I think, is also mentioned in there. And we don't have that position filled right now. I think especially as we're going forward and we're trying to rebuild, if you will, somewhat on the fly, I think it best when we get our organization in place in order to cover all of the things that might be ahead of us and probably will be ahead of us. So with that in mind, I would like to nominate Pat Porch as vice chair or co-chair.
Second.
Second? Any discussion?
Which one would it be, vice or co?
Well, the bylaws are interchangeable.
So which one?
So if we're of a mind to
You would
call
like
her
vice.
vice chair, she selects vice chair.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear.
Yeah, the wording's a
I
little
think
crazy.
it has something to do with my experience going through search.
Oh, no.
All right, any other questions on that?
Fifth time.
Motion and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that is unanimous, thank you. And also in our bylaws is mentioned of a secretary. Pat has been fulfilling some of those responsibilities. And I'm not too sure if you want to relinquish all of those. Or not. You've done a bang-up job, I must say so.
Well, having Michelle do, except for tonight, having her do the actual minutes has been a big help. That's a lot off the table.
Yeah.
It really is. It kind of simplifies it.
The,
Is Michelle still gonna do that? Not
she,
gonna
as
do
far
that?
as,
She had something tonight.
Oh, okay.
yeah, this is just a one-off as far as we know.
Yeah.
Is she gonna watch the video and make the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So she'll be able to see.
That didn't work once upon a time, but
So you-
we're going
I-
to trust
I
it.
started making
We're-
notes.
We've
Right.
got, Pat will provide some backup on that.
Mhm.
We did have a recording once that was video only, there was no sound, so unless you were very good at lip reading.
Yeah, that was a
Was-
tough one.
That's
yeah,
tough,
it wasn't very
yes.
effective. But you know, moving on with the thought in terms of the secretary, I would like to offer someone up for that position and move that we appoint Joyce as secretary of the board of trustees going forward. Joyce and I discussed this in a very general sense in the past. And she never said no.
I'm
She
I'm
did
not
s-
saying no, I probably would need some
Yeah,
guidance,
absolutely,
but
work with you.
I would be willing to try
Thank you.
Okay.
and take that on.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so be it. Congratulations to both. Now, while we're on the bylaws, we have on the agenda, number 5, bylaw amendment on number of trustee signatures required on invoices. And I think I've said more than I should already with regards to that, so I'm going to refer to anyone who has comments to make.
Okay. Have you read through
Shouldn't
it?
we
Yeah.
table this for a while since Karen's leaving and we have no idea who the new library director is?
Actually, Stephanie, I think it might be an opportune time to do that. And that one of the things that Karen has been doing, and she's relentless in it, is trying to chase people down for signatures. This would take that again off the plate of whoever would be
Yeah.
coming in and not as
Okay.
familiar with us as Karen is. And doesn't know what all the bodies are very necessary.
Greg has authority to sign too, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, he signs and we don't get 4.
So can I ask a few questions?
Go right ahead.
It says signatures of the library director and the board chair, so without a library director,
Exactly.
do you need to put comma or designee?
Yeah, that would be good.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Good point.
Thank
Excellent
you.
point.
Thank you.
And then my second question was, I remember asking about why we needed 4 signatures, and I thought that it was something that was more than just our bylaws. I didn't know if it was anything in regards to town
And that's been
bylaws at all?
changed.
Oh, yeah, it
Yes.
used to be a
State
mass
law.
general law, but it
Okay.
got changed,
That's
the Municipal Modernization Act.
Perfect.
So if you
we
want to
are in
read all
alignment?
about it, you can.
I'm okay, we're in alignment then?
Right.
Yeah.
That has changed, so now this, what we would be changing this to is consistent with that.
And it's consistent with what other libraries have changed to
Mm-hmm.
in the area.
Actually, didn't they put, KP Law actually had verbiage in there. You can have this. I don't need it anymore.
Connecticut will be different.
So we're gonna put the library director,
Or
comma,
designee.
or designee
Yeah.
will provide
it's, the bylaws didn't anticipate.
Well, yeah, I just, the library director, it wasn't gonna work because we need more than the chair, but that's right.
Yeah, so it would be
Yeah.
library
Designee
director,
interim.
designee, so we'll have to make that adjustment.
That or interim, whoever it is.
You know, wherever we're seeing the term.
They happen to be our legal
Library
counsel.
director or designee.
Okay. So my other question is, like, I know that Karen will put up, you put up kind of like a template every week.
Cover
what
sheet.
A cover sheet.
Yep.
So is that something that can be, if that cover sheet is still going to be done by whoever it is?
Definitely.
It would be.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Is it something that we could at least still
Yeah.
send to the board members so that we can see what's going in, what's going out?
A copy.
I
could be
think
made.
isn't it required that be presented at a meeting of
Yeah.
what bills were paid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Each shall make available to the board at the
Right.
first meeting following such action, a record of such actions, and further
Okay.
to ask.
Yeah, it would be
So just on a
minimum
monthly.
of-
That
Exactly.
format would be a
Okay.
copy.
it would
I
just be
assume.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
there
would be a
might be
month's worth
that.
of bills that were paid in the same kind of fashion,
Okay.
if that's acceptable. I mean,
Yeah,
I
so
already
Yeah,
have
we
that
get them every
template up
month
there.
instead of every
Yeah.
week.
Right,
Thank
if
you.
we could have that, like, that's stupid. Like, if we can have that ahead of time, just so that we could, you know, the first time I'm seeing it is not like at the meeting, would be helpful, but.
Interesting
Well-
things we found in open meetings too, about what you can send ahead of time. So, yeah, I expect, yeah, we could do that.
I
Yeah.
think we still have,
Well-
we're saying we, but we don't know who. And again, the organization is going to be at a
Right.
bare bones level. So in terms of the timeliness of it, it might not be exactly when you wanted it in the future.
No,
And
I
just
didn't know that.
you know, I
think you're talking once we have a new director and
Yes.
things get
Yeah,
back.
at some point, things start to normalize again, and everybody's got their oars in the water where they want them to be. We'll get a better chance at that. But I'm
just
just
know that-
saying that this is going
Right,
to be a
right. I
little.
just know that in the school district, I received like a weekly, whatever's on the warrant that week,
Yep.
whether I sign it or not sign it.
Can that spreadsheet, cover sheet be emailed to the trustees? You know, because normally I prepare them,
Right.
and then I email you guys and say, they're ready for review
Right.
and signature.
Right.
That's just as easy to say,
Just to say.
here's the bills we paid this week.
Attach.
Right.
And attach it,
Yep.
but is
Right.
that okay?
I would think so.
Yeah.
If that's feasible for who's ever the
The email still has to go, well, the email
Oh,
would
to
still
me.
go to Richard,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, the email,
Well, me
I would
and
just,
Pat, but-
I would just still do the email and then just attach the cover sheet. Does that seem
Yeah, you could.
like a good
Yeah, I
idea?
would,
Yeah.
I would think that the email would not only go to Pat and Richard, because it says a minimum of 4 trustees, well, you're changing it.
Changing.
Yeah.
So you
that's
only
what we're
need
changing.
your
Right.
signatures
But,
too.
but it would serve as just a flag to whoever needs to come in and sign.
Mhm.
And then you would have a snapshot of what's being paid.
Okay, that sounds,
Would that satisfy the letter of the law?
I'm not sure.
I
I
don't
would
see
think
how
so.
it would not,
Yeah.
really.
So you get 4 instead of 1?
I mean, it's providing information to more than those who need to be signing, so it's,
Yeah, I don't see that.
Okay.
I don't see why that's a big deal.
I apologize, I have one more question.
one more question.
I think.
I'm gonna hold you to that, just one more question.
I know, you can. One thing I'm just concerned about is, say, what happens if you two both happen to be away on vacation that week? And who are we allotting as the other person's signature?
Well, in the fine
Does
print.
it go to it goes to the town,
So it could
town
be the
administrator,
director and the town.
The vice chair's responsibility is in fine print on the back of the bylaws, there's no vacation times allowed.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean.
Has that
can you
ever
put-
happened before?
Well, we've never had it that it's only 2 signatures.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that we have all the bases covered, so that just in case, like,
I can think of 2 weeks that I haven't signed, that I was away.
I think I had 1.
do
One.
they intersect?
No.
They
don't
could.
think so.
You never
I mean,
know.
if
I don't know if they can,
Yeah.
you know, and the other thing is.
I just want
both-
to give you guys the option that, you know, could you have one other trustee sign for you just in case?
We're gonna need a foldout on this bylaw change.
Well, I don't think we can vote on this tonight if we're gonna make this number
How
of
did-
changes to it.
did I
We have to hold
send
it for this
you-
meeting.
Could I see that KP law thing?
I will say this, we have been able to communicate, I think, pretty well
Yep.
in terms of our absence,
Mhm.
should one of us be absent. I don't think we've ever had a problem where you or I have held the process up.
Right, and because you have Friday usually, and Monday, Tuesday, there's a few more
Right.
days in there, so if you go on vacation from Sunday to Saturday, you're probably gonna be able to come in Monday or Tuesday
Well,
too.
you know what we can also do? We can have it this way, and if we find later on that we need to revise it, we can revise it.
Why don't you, because you have library director or his or her designee, why don't you put in chair or his or her designee?
That's what I was thinking, I just didn't know. And the
So,
designee could be
someone-
Pat, or could be
Exactly.
anybody.
Anybody. Okay.
That satisfies it, no matter
Right,
what.
I don't, now, we have it posted in the agenda here as an amendment to the bylaws, in that we've changed the amendment to the bylaws. Do we have to?
We haven't changed, we've amended the amendment.
Yeah,
So we
what's that?
haven't
We've
changed the amendment.
Wording of the amendment.
We haven't changed I don't believe we've changed the sanctity of the amendment.
The intent. no,
The intent, no,
changed.
so I don't think we'd be out of line.
All right.
I don't
There's our
believe so.
parliamentarian here. Joyce, did you take a
I'm
revenue
agreeing. I'm in agreement with that.
parliamentary procedure?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well,
He just didn't know whether
He doesn't know we
what
can
we
vote on it
have
tonight.
listed
Oh, yeah,
here
yeah.
as an amendment,
Yes.
we have changed the wording of it.
Yeah,
So
as long as
it's
it's correct in the minutes.
correct in the minutes,
Right.
but we don't have to hold that over to the next meeting in order for that
No.
amendment to pass.
No.
Okay, all right. That said, then, anyone further questions?
I'm gonna let Kathy make the motion.
I would just
Yes.
read it with the
Yeah.
way it should be,
Right.
so that it's correct in the minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, so,
And just list the article and section that we're updating.
okay. I'd like to make a motion to have a bylaw amendment on the number of trustee signatures or invoices. That would be Article 5, Section 5.6, to review and sign the schedule of invoices before being submitted to the town each week. A minimum of 4 trustee signatures are required weekly. Amend underline to read, signatures of the library director or designee and the board chair or designee in the chair's absence are required weekly. The library director or designee will provide a monthly statement of invoices paid to the board at their monthly meeting.
Second.
Everyone clear with that? Okay, do we have a second?
Perfect.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Did you get all the changes? Do you want me to hand it to you?
I've got the
You
name.
got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. So that will be effective this week.
Mhm. Just, Karen gave a report on it already.
She did, right? And we had, Joyce did a webinar, trustee webinar.
I did
Yes.
the webinar, she did the training session.
I did a webinar.
Webinar?
Did you do a
Yeah,
webinar?
I did a webinar on library funding.
And you also did the.
I did my
trustee
orientation,
Mhm.
trustee orientation, yeah.
Did all the new trustees get a trustee pocket guide?
I forgot.
I didn't get one of those.
I have one.
Give
Yeah.
them to them, but then.
A trustee.
Trustee.
Were there some of those in the library?
They're in the library right in the
Yeah.
folders.
I'm
Karen
sure,
provided
yeah,
for us.
I took them out of the folders.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure you can download right from the
Yeah,
Mass Photo Library.
Also, I
Yes, you
emailed,
can,
I
yeah.
forwarded an email from Maura today on
Right.
a Shrewsbury thing. In
November,
case you didn't hear.
November 17th, it's a
Right.
Saturday. It's pretty much a full day, starts early in the morning, and I think there's a
9 to
luncheon at
1.
1.
Mhm.
And it is geared towards the trustees, I think specifically,
Right.
so something to keep in mind. And it's, obviously, we're getting closer to the holidays, and those Saturdays are going to have to have increased value as we go further in that direction, with kids especially. It is there, and Shrewsbury is not that bad. I mean, it's a lot closer to Chatham.
Oh, yeah.
So, that is a beautiful facility we have out there now in Shrewsbury. It's an older building they've added on to, and very impressive. One of the things that they have, I think we've talked about it, is they're open on Sundays, which I know we're not in a position to do anything like that,
It's
but
got Saturdays.
but what they've done with
I
Sundays.
want to see you approach the
Yeah,
staff.
well, no, what they've done, and talking to a librarian, and what they've done on Sundays is they have local businesses in the community who will offset the cost and pay for whatever the
Nice.
fees and salaries are for that Sunday. And they get a little
But you
pitch.
still have to staff it.
Huh?
You still have to find staff to work on Sunday.
Right, you would, but, if the carrot's there, the horse will follow, or something like that. But that's how they've worked around that. They haven't gone to the town for additional funding, they've gone to the community, and obviously,
Right.
there's a business community in Shrewsbury that probably is how many times what we have in Dudley. And they've been able to find local sponsors, and they've been doing this pretty successfully, I understand it. So, something, that's a shot at the moon, but it's something to
Yep.
hold in thought. Anyway, Cumberland Farms and Jimmy's Pizza.
Gentex is a big corporation that does.
Gentex is a big
They
corporation.
give back, they do a lot, their employees are
All right.
given a lot to give back to the community, and
Mhm.
volunteerism
Yeah.
and all
Right.
that, so.
I mean, it may not, maybe every Sunday in the month might be a stretch, but maybe 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 might not be too bad.
Get a library director.
Okay, yes, well, along with I'm big on the Bullards and the Sundays, so put me down for crashes and football games on Sunday. All right, anyone have anything else that they would like to bring up at this time? Any new business?
Actually, I'd just like to hear from Joyce.
Oh, Joyce.
It kind
Yeah.
of got over, so I just was letting it go.
All right, let it go. Okay, thank you,
Can you
Joyce.
find the trustee orientation was wildlife?
The trustee orientation, it was a lot I already knew. I don't feel that I don't know. I had hoped for more. I guess I wished it was longer than 2 hours. They
Mhm.
kind of went over their spiel for a lot of it, and we had like questions probably for the last 20 minutes, and it could have
By
gone longer.
They,
It
you
really
mean
did.
Mass Library?
Yeah, I wish it was longer. Yeah.
This is the one in Chatham?
Yeah, it was our
Surprised,
orientation.
because the one I went to was.
It was just 2 hours. They had it right down to,
Oh.
and that was it. It was over.
Yeah.
But it was a private library. It
Oh.
wasn't, yeah, it was Chatham was a private, they have 2 libraries in Chatham. And it was, it's a private library, so it was interesting to hear that.
Oh.
So.
Thank you. And the webinar that you?
The webinar it had a lot, I talked about it, I guess, a month or so back when I asked about like the statistics for the library.
Right.
And I just think it's really important that once we get somebody new on board, I really think we need to step forward and we need to start working on strategic planning and
Mhm.
what are our goals. And I think some of the information that Karen gave us tonight is great. I looked at the last strategic planning, and that's kind of what I wanted, was I just wanted questions answered to where do we stand
I still plan
on
to
these.
do that before I.
You know what I mean? Where do we
hit the
stand in the
road.
strategic planning? What?
Done,
where-
not done.
Yeah, exactly, like, so that we go
Excuse me?
forward, because I look at it as like, what are the people in the town, what do they want from our library? Is
Mhm.
something really important, and like, we need to put out, like, those questionnaires at the town hall, at the library, online, for them to fill out and give us that feedback, and it takes a while to do that. So that was my thing, is like, it just, I'm putting it off, and it just seems it's so much, it takes so long to do all that, to get all that information. I just noticed, like, one of the big thing is like, they want more hours. That was one of the key things that a lot of the community
Yes.
members said, is we're
Yeah.
not open enough.
But it's also noted that they recognize that they're understaffed. That's noted in there as well, so, you can't have one without the other. You can only add so many hours to the current staff before you hit that magical 20-hour.
Right.
20 hours, and that's,
Right.
you can't do that
Yeah,
again.
so.
Creative ways, we have to get creative.
Well, we'll have a new set of eyes at some point
Right.
to look at this, and who knows? There may be things that we haven't thought of and options that we haven't considered. And
Someone may come in
there's
with
a
some-
brave new world ahead of us. And
Exactly.
What they've done and
yes,
what worked for them that might work for us.
right? You know, we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel every
Right.
time. That's true. All right. Good. Thank you, Joyce.
I'd just like to publicly thank my staff, in addition to the board, my hardworking staff, all of the hardworking volunteers at the library, and certainly the Friends of the Library, our active Friends of the Library group. And last but not least, all of the fantastic patrons that come in on a regular basis, give us feedback, and just, they really make the library what it is. So,
Steal a phrase that takes a village
right, so thank you.
or a town. Thank you. And it is the town's library. It really is. Okay. Anyone, anything else? All right. We have entertain a motion to adjourn.
So our next, before we adjourn,
Oh.
our next meeting is,
Already on?
well, only because they're saying we're gonna meet more often. This is, are we picking a day?
We already have, I sent it out a whole year's calendar worth.
Yes.
No, but he was saying.
Yeah, well,
you know,
they-
we're gonna-
I think
These
that's
were-
as needed at this
Yeah,
point.
that's
It's TBD.
to be determined. And truthfully, we may not have a whole lot of notice on some of these things. These situations come up, and opportunities, hopefully.
48 hours worth.
Yes.
Yeah, right, 48 hours.
Be prepared.
Got that right,
yeah.
Dress warmly too. We have a motion to adjourn, and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. That's always unanimous. Thank you.